Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to the second annual conference on Native American nutrition. I am Mindy Kurzer. I've had the great privilege of chairing the planning committee for this conference, and I would like to thank those who participated in that wonderful opening ceremony. The color guard is the Sisseton Wahpeton Kitfox Society from South Dakota. The drum group is a local drum group called Ghost Nation, and the prayer was given by Leonard Wabasha, a member of the Lower Sioux community and the Shakopee Midwakaton Sioux community cultural director. So I want to thank them all for that wonderful opening ceremony. I would now like to introduce, for some welcoming remarks, Keith Anderson, who is Vice Chairman of the Shakopee Midwakaton Sioux community, which is a federally recognized sovereign Indian tribe on which land we sit today, located southwest of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Keith is serving his fourth consecutive four-year term on the SMSC Business Council. So I invite Keith Anderson to the podium to make some welcoming remarks.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Mindy. Like Mindy said, I am the vice chairman here at the Shakopee Midwakaton Dakota Oyate. On behalf of our community and its business council, Chairman Charlie Vague and Secretary Treasurer Freedom Burr, I would like to welcome everybody to the second annual conference on Native American nutrition. We're honored that you have joined us here today. After the overwhelming response we received from last year's inaugural conference, I'm proud to say that this year it will be even bigger and better. So Padamia, or thank you for being a part of it. This tribe and its decisions are guided by our Dakota heritage. We as Dakota have a long-standing tradition of helping others and sharing in abundance, and we are proud to be among the top philanthropic donors in Minnesota and in Native country. Thank you. We're committed to supporting important causes not only for tribes, but in our state and across the nation. 2 years ago, this tribe launched Seeds of Native Health, a $10 million campaign to improve Native American nutrition and health. And through the Seeds of Native Health, we have supported on-the-ground efforts to improve nutrition in tribal communities, hosted conferences to build awareness among funders of the nutritional crisis facing Native peoples, and launched advocacy campaigns to ensure Indian country is well positioned in local, state, and federal policies. We're proud to host this conference as part of Seeds of Native Health. Your conference folder, and I believe they're back here, includes our latest Seeds of Native Health report. Please read it and learn about our latest initiatives. Seeds of Native Health grew from our internal efforts to improve our own community through better health and food access and education. We created our SMSC Wellness Center, offering comprehensive health from medical, dental, and vision to physical therapy, chiropractic, and acupuncture services. Along with that came Ojupi, our tribal gardens, which include acres and acres of organic vegetables, fruit, greenhouses, chickens, honeybees, and maple syrup production. So if you're interested in seeing Wajupi, you can sign up at the registration desk to tour the gardens on Wednesday afternoon. Working on these projects, we started paying more attention to the widespread dietary health crisis that faces Indian country. Here's important grassroots work being done to improve Native health, and we are very happy to support it. Our former Secretary-Treasurer, Lori Watso, she's been an important leader in these efforts. She now serves as the chair of the Seeds of Native Health Initiative, and unfortunately, she is unable to attend this year's conference. She is currently walking the Missouri River with Nibi walkers. Am I saying that right, Tiffany? Nibi? That's Ojibwe, to raise awareness for our water resources. But she has prepared a message, and she had asked me to share this with you now. This is a greeting from Lori Watso. I am Dakota and Ojibwe and a member of the Shakopee Mdewakanton community. I'd like to welcome you to the community and to our 2017 Native Nutrition Conference. The 2016 conference, held 1 year ago, was an amazing success, and I am confident this year's experience will be exciting, informative, and inspiring as well. I am sorry not to be in attendance with you this year, but I'd like to take a moment to share where I am and what is happening around me at this time. August 1st of this year was the start of the Nibi Walk for the Missouri River. Nibi is the Anishinaabe word for water. The Nibi Water Walks are Indigenous-led extended ceremonies to pray for the water. If you are one of those who does not use the term prayer, you might look at it as a setting of one's intentions. Every step of the Nibi Walk is taken in prayer, positive intention, and gratitude for our water and our life. We walk for the water, and as we heal the water, we heal all of life. We are not a protest, we are a prayer for the water. There is much for you to take in over the next few days of this conference. As you listen, process, and talk with others, please consider how your work and lives intersect with water and those people, places, and activities around you that impact water. Now that the time to set our intention to walk, to work, to be a voice for the water. The foundation for the nutritional health of our people is clean food, and a necessary component to that food is healthy water. Without water, and I stress, healthy, clean water, all of the work that we do to bring the right foods to the tables of our nation is missing the mark. We invite all people to join us in caring for the water at nibiwalk.org. You can listen to the stories of past walks and learn more about upcoming walks on the Missouri River Walk. We are into day 48, having walked more than 1,400 miles. We will complete this Nibi Walk in another 315 miles at the confluence of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers in St. Louis in approximately 8 days. I'm amazed. That's a lot of miles and walks, and a good reason for Lori not to be here. Join us on a journey about building a prayerful relationship with the water and acting to care for the water every day. I want to extend a heartfelt gratitude to Josephine Mondamin, I'm sorry, she has it phonetically spelled out for me so I wouldn't mispronounce that. She's Anishinaabe from Thunder Bay, who started the Nibi Walks in 2005, and to Sharon Day, Ojibwe from Boy Fort, the leader and teacher of 14 Nibi Walks, including this walk for the Missouri. Their love for and dedication to the water is boundless and an inspiration to us all. Stay strong, be happy, and have a wonderful conference. Padamia, Miigwech, thank you. That's more of an intro than I have. So we wish Lori well on that walk, and we're grateful for her service to this tribe and her commitment to health in Indian country. And finally, I want to thank our longtime partner, the University of Minnesota, for collaborating with us on several projects, including Seeds of Native Health and this conference. And I'd especially like to thank the university's Healthy Foods, Healthy Lives Institute, led by Mindy Kurzer, who introduced me, for their expertise in organizing this conference. Working together is how we can all make a difference, and that's why we're so happy you're here to share your knowledge, foster new relationships, and come together over good food, and we work toward our common goal of making Native communities healthier. So thank you once again. It's my honor to be up here to welcome everybody to Mystic Lake and the showroom, and have a great conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Keith. As you know, as Keith mentioned, this event is a collaboration between the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, and Sioux community and the University of Minnesota, specifically the Healthy Food, Healthy Lives Institute, which I direct. We are a part of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences. And so now I would like to introduce Brian Burr to give a welcome from the University of Minnesota. Brian is an applied economist and dean of the College of Food, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Sciences and director of the Minnesota Agricultural Experiment Station. And of course, he's a professor of applied economics. Prior to his appointment as dean, he led the Division of Applied Economics and the Agricultural Education at the University of Minnesota. So now I would like to welcome Brian Burr to the podium for welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Mindy, and thank you, Vice Chairman Anderson, for those introductory remarks. I'm delighted to be here today, and I won't say the name of our college again because it's too long. I'll just say CFAN, so when you hear that, that's the name of the college. On behalf of the University of Minnesota, I'm honored to welcome you to the second annual conference of Native American Nutrition. And whenever I talk about our relationship with the university, and particularly Dakota and the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux, we always recognize and try to honor in our traditions and values that we are sited on Dakota lands as the University of Minnesota. And I think this conference, in a way, recognizes that connection between, as you look at the tagline on it, Indigenous wisdom and science converging. And so we respect and honor that tradition and hope to serve honorably in the work that we do there in recognition of those traditional lands. Last year's conference was path-breaking, I think as Vice Chairman Anderson said, and really started to share and engage in ideas about how we improve Native American health. And I'm sure that with all the shared wisdom, experience, and expertise we have here today, as I was looking at this schedule, I have no doubt that this will improve on that journey to improve the land, the people, animals, and plants that we all share. In CFANS, our tagline is nourishing people and nurturing the environment, and it seems perfectly consistent with what the objectives are for this conference. And I'm looking forward to the extent that I can participate in the next couple of days to learn more as I did last year. I also want to recognize the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux have been tremendous partners. As Vice Chairman Anderson said, their philanthropic work is broad and large in the community. In 2015, we were fortunate to be the recipients of a grant under the Seeds of Native Health program that helped enable this conference today and under which this conference resides. And there were 6 goals to the Seeds of Native Health that I think are worth repeating to keep in mind the scope and intensity of the program that they've envisioned and are now carrying forward in their work. This one is identifying solutions facing Native American health and nutrition, which is a part of this conference, increasing food access for Native Americans, increasing food production on Native lands, enhancing public health education in Native communities, training the next generation of leaders in Native health, and developing replicable solutions that can be implemented throughout other tribes and nations. This work now has expanded at the University of Minnesota to include several programs. Dr. Kurzer mentioned Healthy Foods, Healthy Lives has been a key component. I want to thank Dr. Kurzer here for her efforts and energy in bringing to this conference and the people who are in this room to engage in this conversation. She's done just a tremendous job and deserves a lot of recognition for that work. And I'm sure she'll receive that throughout and you'll see the efforts of that expressed throughout the conference. It also engages the faculty in food science nutrition and students. There are graduate students now studying in this area because of those investments. And the University of Minnesota Academic Health Center is a key part of this. And you'll see today as you listen to speakers, several of the faculty from the Academic Health Center are part of this conference. And that includes the College of Pharmacology, as well as at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, as well as Duluth, the School of Public Health, and of course the University of Minnesota Extension Service that extends those results out into tribal communities and lands. And now, the challenge to you is that includes all of you here to engage in this work. And as I looked across the attendees, I just skimmed it, and I think there were 500 people that they have registered for this, which is tremendous. And throughout that, you'll see the planning committee members represented who are a huge part of bringing this together. We'll see elders' wisdom expressed as part of this conference, practitioners, educators, students. I saw policymakers, nonprofit representatives, farmers, food entrepreneurs, and government representatives. And as I counted through it, there were something like 32 states and nations represented in addition to Canada and a person from New Zealand. So I think New Zealand gets the travel award over Hawaii. I couldn't quite tell which was further. There's the New Zealanders. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed your long, long flight. But thank you for joining us today. And I think it demonstrates the power of SMSC's vision in creating the Seeds of Native Health and to improve the health and sustaining and preserving traditions as well and cultures, as well as extending food sovereignty to the nations. And it's always, when I do these introductions, and actually I was here quite a bit last year, and I had, I think, a really enlightening personal experience. I could talk through it for quite a while, and I think it really helped me to think about our role and the aspects. But one, as I was thinking about introducing this, I was reflecting back, and I thought of one young Native American leader, and I won't say his full name. For those of you here last year, you may know him. I don't have his permission to do this, but it really was sort of changed a bit of my worldview as well as my actions this past year. And his name was Brandon. And near the end of the conference, we had several young presenters that were presenting their work and research. And you can always see the enthusiasm and excitement and heartfelt interest in the work they're doing. And Brandon talked about, he was a veteran as well, and he talked about his work. He's working with Tiffany, I believe, in her Beckman and her work, and was working in endocrinology and the impacts of type 2 diabetes. And he told a bit of his personal story of how he had gained weight, and I could certainly relate to that. At the time, in fact, I think the reason I resonated was he said he was around 260 pounds or so, and I was right at that or higher. And I wouldn't have been wearing this suit last year, I'll tell you, had I not been here. It wouldn't have fit me at the time. And he talked about his journey and how he had looked back to his native traditions and started to change his diet in response to his health and caring for his health. And in the process, he had lost several pounds. And he actually mentioned that he was today, I know this week he'll be eating some of Jason Champagne's, who's the chef here, some of his prepared meals in bison. And he talked about going to a high-protein diet and linking that back to the traditions of Dakota culture and heavier protein rather than the grain-based diets that we're often eating now. So after that, this year, I set out to lose, my goal is about 30 pounds, which I started with. And I had the advantage, and this is sort of the nature of the conference, the science part of the conference. And on my wrist, I still have this is a Fitbit tracker. So if you want to get obsessive about your walking and climbing stairs and so on, get one of these, and you'll find every day it beeps you. I call it the zit feature. It kind of gives you a couple buzzes, and you hit some mark, and you get a little bit of a dose of accomplishment. I had my cell phone, which I don't have with me right now, usually, and I entered my food, and that's an interesting process. There's MyFitnessPal, so that's kind of the science. I started tracking that. And you find pretty quickly that sugar and salt are things that are very difficult to move from your diet, but you can do it and move through it. And then I learned, through that process, as I went through, and this took me the better part of a year, and I'm still working on this, the technology and science wasn't enough, that tracking those things wasn't enough, that I had to think about how do I change my behavior? How do I actually adapt and change the way that I'm eating? And a lot of it is that the sort of idea of seeing a nutrition of mindless eating, not thinking about what it means as you're eating those foods. And that I had to reconnect with an idea that came out through this conference that I hadn't, certainly from my background wasn't as aware of, but the idea of reconnecting with food as medicine, that it was part of a healthy journey and that having healthy food would improve your lives. And so as I said, I'm excited this year that I don't think I accomplished what he had. He certainly surpassed me, but I've managed to take off about 30 pounds and still trying to work on how to improve that health. And his story and his conversation about how it affected his life, I think, was very moving, and it goes across this conference and the role it has. And also I was thinking about that in the context of how difficult. I had every advantage of both. I work at a higher education institution. I know somewhat nutritional science and health, but still it was a matter of how do you do that in spite of your own behaviors and then the circumstance we're in, how difficult, and this conference always addresses issues of affordability. How is healthy food accessible through affordability? As we think about fruits and vegetables, that accessibility. We know about local foods and food deserts and the challenges to try to get those healthy foods in communities where they may not have access beyond convenience stores to have good local foods, and that's part of the Seeds of Native Health program. Limited availability of education, educating people on the importance of food and diet and how they can improve their health and see food as medicine and connected to the natural resources. And also then the historical context and the importance of family and community in building a healthy life and healthy foods. And that's where I think about this conference at a more personal level of how it affects and the power of the idea that SMSC started with Seeds of Native Health. And in that tagline that most people in your conference manual won't read that tagline under it, that is using both indigenous wisdom and academic research to improve Native American health. That means that everyone can help to lead in bringing healthy foods to a healthier life. So with that, I want to thank all of you for your participation in this vision. Together, I think of you as the seeds of native health, as the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux have started that agenda. I thank you for your attendance, and I appreciate and look forward to the conference this week to being very productive and informative. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian, for those lovely welcoming remarks from the University of Minnesota. So as I said, I've had the great privilege of chairing the Planning Committee, and I would like to begin by thanking the Planning Committee members for the work that they've done for this entire year, beginning about a month after last year's conference to plan this one. And I would like to ask all the members of the Planning Committee to stand, if you would, in your place. Just rise so that we can see who you are. They're kind of spread out all over. Thank you so much. And I want to tell you that we are going to have a photograph of the Planning Committee at the beginning of the first break. So please come up to the stage quickly at the beginning of the first break, and we're going to try to take a quick photo of as many planning committees who can make it up here. I'd also like to acknowledge some other folks who are here who deserve special recognition. The first is that we do have some elected tribal leadership who are present, and I would like to ask anyone who is elected tribal leadership to please stand so that we can recognize you. Thank you so much for your great contributions. And finally, we have a number of elders present who will be imparting their knowledge and experience and wisdom during the conference. And I would like to acknowledge the elders and express how honored we are for your presence. And so if there are any elders present who would either stand or raise your hand, we'd like to acknowledge you as well. Thank you. So now I'm going to ask you to take a poll, because let's find out who's here. So if you click on the first poll, there are two polls nested under the welcome session. If you click on the first poll, it asks basically what your affiliation is. Why are you here? If you have one primary affiliation, you are an academic, student, higher ed, just vote on that one. So you're basically voting by clicking on it. I have allowed up to 5 votes because there are a number of people who feel strongly that they have multiple affiliations and they can't just pick one. If you feel strongly that you have multiple affiliations, then vote more than one time. And if you look at the screen right now, as we're voting, the numbers are changing a little bit, but you can see we get an immediate response. About 21% of those present are tribal officials, employees, or community members. About 19% are nutrition educators. About 18% are employees of nonprofits. About 13% are affiliated with higher education as researchers or students, teachers. About 11% are public health workers or clinical practitioners. About 8% are employees of the federal, state, or local government. And then I can't see the numbers, but then a little bit lower than 7%, we have those folks who are funders and some who are consultants as well. So these are the top 6 categories, just so that we know who's present and what their affiliations are. This will also hopefully be helpful for those who are speaking and running breakout groups to know who the audience is. Okay, has everybody voted? So now let's go to the second poll. The second poll asks where you're from. And this second poll, you should really only check one although some of you may be from more than one place. I think I'm only allowing you to vote once. So go ahead, and we have you separated into areas of the lower 48. Alaska and Hawaii are listed separately, and then after that we have outside of the U.S. So here you can see that expectedly we have about 35% of the attendees are from the Midwest. About 15% are from the U.S. Northwest or Pacific. About 13% are from the Great Plains or Southern Plains. About 12% are from the West or Southwest. About 10% are from the Rocky Mountains. And about 7% are from the eastern U.S. Now, I know we also, they sort of, because we can only show 6, the other 2 are not shown on the screen, but we do have a number of people from Alaska, a number of people from Hawaii. We have folks from 5 different Canadian provinces, and also from New Zealand and Mexico. But they were less than 7%, so they don't show up on the screen. So I thank you all. We're about to begin our first session.